And when you vent the machine, whoa!
They say an artist is only as good as their tools, and the same holds true for meal prep. Starting your week by preparing some recipes ahead of time can make your life easier. You'll save some money, there'll be a little bit less stress, and you might even eat healthier.
Every year, ATK sends out an annual survey asking folks all different questions about their kitchens. One thing we ask about is pain points. And this year, we heard a ton of feedback on meal prep. Lisa and I are here to help with some of our favorite tips, tricks, and gear to get you a head start on the week.
But first, we have a book coming out. It's called Kitchen Gear, The Ultimate Owner's Manual.
The two of us have 30 years of combined experience testing kitchen gear, and we've packed all of our favorite tips and tricks into this book.
We give you our unbiased take on what's worth buying and what's not. Plus, you'll find over 100 ATK recipes that bring out the best in your gear.
Get your copy of Kitchen Gear, The Ultimate Owner's Manual today. First up, Hannah.
One of my most effective meal prep tips is to bulk or batch prep ingredients. Now, I take some time on a Sunday. I use two of my favorite tools. I have an Instant Pot right here and a sheet pan right here. I do a bunch, one right after another, using these two tools. And I don't wash them in between. And if you cut out this washing in between, you are cutting down on your work overall. You might be saying, Hannah, ew, not washing? What are you talking about? I'll get to that later. But before I do, I want to talk about these two pieces of gear specifically and why they are my best friends for meal prep. First of all, a sheet pan. You can do a million things on a sheet pan. The way I like to use mine in meal prep is to roast a bunch of things, one right after another. Use those interchangeably through different meals. Scrape off any debris in between, put the next set of food right on. I like to go from cleanest to dirtiest. So for example, if I'm going to roast some veggies simply in oil with salt and pepper, I do those first. If I'm gonna roast some tofu that I've marinated in all kinds of things, soy, garlic, etc., I'm gonna do that last because that's the messiest thing to clean up. So if you do it that way, you can cut out washing the pan in between and just wash it once at the end. So this is our winning half sheet pan from Nordic Ware. We've talked before about the quarter sheet pans, eighth of a sheet pans. We love those too, but I really like this size particularly for meal prep. It's bigger, you can get a little more volume in there. It has a really sturdy coiled rim right here that keeps it nice and rigid. We also like the depth. These high sides give it just a little bit more versatility. This is probably one of the busiest pans in our kitchen, and it's great for meal prep. Next up, multi-cookers. This is our winner from Instant Pot over here. Now, typically these machines promise to do a million different functions. When I meal prep with mine, I'm using the pressure cook one because that is really going to save time. It keeps all the flavors in and it's super fast because it's cooked under pressure. It can actually cook at a higher temperature. So you can make a chicken stock in an hour versus 6 hours on the stove. So here's my typical lineup on a good meal prepping Sunday. So I might start with some hard cooked eggs. I love having hard cooked eggs on hand. You steam them on a steamer basket in an Instant Pot like this. Dump out the water, add fresh water, steam up a bunch of broccoli. Next, I might throw in the chicken stock ingredients, takes another hour, dump that out, strain that over here, put the pot back in, and I might cook some rice. If there's some residual chicken broth flavor going into my rice, that's not a bad thing, that's a good thing. I haven't washed this pot once, and I've made 4 different things. Multi-cooker can mean all different kinds of things in marketing speak. By our definition, our lexicon, really you have to be able to pressure cook as well. We wanted a machine that was really easy to dial in. This interface over here, very user-friendly. The interior pot right here, it comes out. It has stay cool handles, a nice flat bottom for really good heat contact that's gonna help it sear more evenly. This pot, you can actually put this right on the stovetop if you wanted to. So the one kind of scary thing about modern multi-cookers / pressure cookers is that you do have to release or vent the steam. In pressure cooking, there are 2 ways to release the steam. One is right away, as soon as you're done cooking. This is called quick release. You open it up right away. It's a big dramatic steam fest. The other is called natural release, where you turn the machine off, but you let it sit for a while, and it's going to gently come back down to temperature. We do this for more delicate foods that you don't want to burst apart. It can actually help things cook more evenly, whereas quick release can help things that are delicate in the way that you don't want them to overcook. You know, you want to get that cold air in there and stop the cooking. And this usually does result in a giant plume of steam coming out, but it is a bit alarming. And so one step that the Instant Pod, our winner here, has added to make this a little bit easier. Instead of turning a tab, which we usually got a wooden spoon and you stand back and you turn the tab and it vents the machine, you can just flick this button and that vents it. You're not actually putting your hand on the thing that vents the steam. You can pressure cook well in a lot of machines that are on the market. This won our top spot for these nice little touches. We also have a Best Buy crock pot that was pretty good as well. So these are my 2 favorite meal prepping tools, and this will get you just a head start on the week by reducing that cleaning in between. Another way I like to meal prep on a Sunday is to make a big batch of salad dressing. You can buy this stuff at the store, sure, but 1, it's more expensive, and 2, there's a lot of ingredients in those packaging that I cannot pronounce. Now you can buy a dedicated salad dressing shaker. We tested a bunch of them. This is our winner right here from OXO. This one won fair and square for a couple reasons. First of all, it's easy to clean. You'll notice it comes apart right here, so you can reach down in there with a sponge. A lot of the models we tested did not do that, so you really couldn't clean that well down at the bottom. It has these nice measurement markings right on the jar, so you can build your recipe right in it. These are really clear and they did not rub off over time. Seals up nice and tightly, but it's got this really grippy band around it, so it's easy to open and close. So this little tab right here opens and closes, and there's a gasket on here, so it seals really tightly. So you can really shake this to get your ingredients all combined and not worry about spraying salad dressing all over your walls, which would really take away from your efficient meal prep if you have to clean your whole kitchen afterwards. Some of the other models we tested did not have this, so you had to baby them. You know, what's the point of a dedicated salad dressing shaker if you can't shake it? Do you need a dedicated salad dressing shaker? I don't really think so. This is a nice to have if you really want to get into it, but what I use most at home is a ball jar. And that's because, I don't put plastic in my dishwasher, so I really use a ton of ball jar containers. Now, if you're familiar with these, which most folks are, you're probably used to the 2-piece metal tops. These are necessary for canning. They're not that great for storage. First of all, you have to wash 2 different pieces. Second of all, they're prone to denting. Third of all, they're prone to rusting. These plastic tops were a revelation for me. They just screw on. They're 1 piece. They come in 2 different sizes, wide mouth and narrow, and they just make storage that much easier. Ball jars also have the measurements on the outside, so you can build whatever recipe you're making right in there. The lid screws on really tightly, so you can shake in here easily. Another beloved revelation in my household: squeeze bottles. Chefs love these things, and that's because they provide easy access. Now, this is our winner right here. We tested a whole bunch of these. How can you mess a squeeze bottle up? But our winner here has a couple little features that help make it that much easier to use. The biggest thing is it unscrews here at a wider part of the bottle instead of up here by the narrower nozzle, and that allows you to get inside for cleaning. This wider opening also makes it easier to fill. You're not trying to aim into a very narrow hole. Easier to fill, easier to clean. Another thing we liked here, this has a body made of low density polyethylene. It's nice and flexible, so you can get some squeeze. You can actually expel things with a nice force. Some were too stiff. If you can't squeeze a squeeze bottle, what's the point? Now, these are great for salad dressings. Like I said, you can prep in here really easy. It doesn't have measurement markings, but you can rough out ratios. But it does have this nice narrow dispensing nozzle up here, so you can put on just the perfect amount of salad dressing. And while I do use these in meal prep, the primary way I use them is to hold a smaller amount of olive oil nearby my stove for cooking. I keep my bulk bottles away in a dark cabinet so the light doesn't, make them age faster. Now I just go pew and do like a precise little squirt of the exact amount I want. I'm not wasting oil. I'm not putting too much in the pan. Those days are over. I'm in just pure bliss with my squeeze bottle at home. All right, those are some of my favorite meal prep tips and tools. Here's Lisa with some of hers.
So one of the key parts about doing meal prep is to have some way to store the food that you prepared in advance. And that's where food storage containers come in. We tested both plastic and glass food storage containers. I did this myself. We bought a whole bunch of different ones in each type, plastic and glass, put them through every possible test, washed them 52 times in a dishwasher, and then repeated all the tests. These guys came out ahead, they met all our criteria, and they're really worth looking at. You're going to notice a big difference if you invest in good food storage containers. These are our favorite glass food storage containers. They're by OXO. We have not been sponsored by OXO. They just did a really good job in this category. And these are our favorite plastic food storage containers. They're by Rubbermaid. It's their Brilliance line. They are plastic, but they're BPA free. They're made of Triton, which is a very strong and durable plastic. It's clear and it is safe in the microwave or in the freezer. Triton, which is a hard BPA free plastic, does not chemically change when you warm things up in it. You may want both glass and plastic containers for a couple of reasons. Glass is a great material to have because it's non-reactive. It doesn't alter the food at all. It doesn't react with the food at all. It will get very clean again when you're done. A lot of times plastic will pick up some different color and residue from food over time. Glass, by contrast, really won't change. They do have plastic lids because you need some way to get it attached. This OXO container is made of borosilicate glass. Now, this is what Pyrex containers used to be made of back in the day. Now they're made of soda lime glass. And soda lime glass is less tough. Borosilicate is what they use in laboratory glass, and it's much more resistant to extreme temperature changes and thermal shock, where you change from hot to cold or cold to hot suddenly. So where you've heard of things like glass containers shattering, this is much less likely to do that. Now, it is still glass. You should not drop it on rocks or something, but it's much more sturdy than your typical glass food storage container. You can actually bake in this. You could either bake a quick bread or you could do mac and cheese. So you can bake all the portions and then you can freeze right in this. When it comes out of the freezer, you can actually take it out, remove the lid, and pop this thing in the oven to reheat. So even though this is borosilicate, you want to read the warnings and the instructions carefully about how to use it from oven to freezer. Because what happens is when an oven first turns on, the temperature just shoots really high, really fast, because it's trying to get very quickly preheated to whatever temperature you set. And that extreme temperature change isn't good for glass. But it is safe to do if you have a fully preheated oven and then you put this in to heat or to cook. Probably one of the most important factors in any food storage container is how well does it protect your food. And a lot of containers claim to be airtight or leak-proof, and that is not really always the case. We tested these by filling them and we shook them to see if anything would come out, if the seals stayed intact. These are really actually leak-proof. They are also airtight. We put some crystals in that turn color when they detect moisture, and we sealed them up and submerged them in a bin of water. These did not allow any water in either. So let's talk about our plastic containers. These are really terrific because they come in every different size and they seal really well. When you push down in them, you can hear a little whoosh of air coming out. There's a vent hole under each of these flaps, and that allows the air to come out and really seal. And then they lock on. One of the things we did do is to figure out whether or not they were good after being frozen. So I filled them all with water, sealed them up, and put them in a big chest freezer overnight. The next afternoon, I opened them up and I dropped them from chest height down to the floor. Not the glass ones, because we know those are going to break, but all the plastic ones. And some of them just made a mess. This one was fine. It didn't crack, it didn't become more brittle. I did wash these in the dishwasher, but if you want to wash them by hand, that also works. Both of these have gaskets, which is this silicone band inside, and that is what makes it so airtight and leak-proof. And it is attached on one side. The other side you can get under to clean. And this is nice. It's nice and tight to the container. It doesn't get lost. We did an experiment where we put very strong smelling tuna packed in oil and anchovies, left them overnight. The next day we put them through the dishwasher, and then we had people smell them to see if they could smell any fishy smells. And a lot of the other ones really did still smell. And these really got nice and clean. And so that was a good sign for us. With the OXO, the little gasket on these is also silicone. You can get it completely out and wash it. And there's enough space, you can even get a fingertip in there, so you can get your sponge in there or your scrub brush to really wash that and to clean this really well. And then it's fairly simple to get it lined up again and pop it back in. It's a little squishy, so it gets right on the edge of that glass and seals up super well. When it comes to meal prep, if you're just going to buy one container, I'd probably go with the largest one because you can make a big portion in that and serve from it over time. Glass is great. It's sustainable. It's, does not react with food. It's usable in serving and for freezing or cooking. So it's really very versatile. On the other hand, if you're taking it with you, it is a little heavy. So unless you want to do a little workout along with your meal prepping, you might want to look at plastic. Plastic is lighter. It's less fragile. Especially this one, which we tested so much, is going to hold up for you for a good long time. If you're going to do meal prep and take it seriously and you want that food to have the best possible flavor and texture, invest in some decent food storage containers. It's really worth it. Having a good kitchen scale that's accurate and that's easy to use really makes a difference. It can speed up meal prep. You can use it to make sure that your portions are exactly what they should be. You can make sure that if you're freezing a bunch of hamburger patties, that they're all exactly 4 ounces, and you can divide them up so they'll all cook at the same rate. We tested a ton of scales, and these are the winners. This one is by OXO, and this is our overall favorite. This one's by Ozeri. It's our best buy. Both of these were highly accurate. We used calibrated weights, and we put them on and made sure that when they read, they were reading accurately at all different amounts, whether it was a very light amount or very heavy amount. They both will read up to 11 pounds, and that's a nice amount for cooking. And one of the things that we love about both of these is that their displays are nice and clear. They're very simple with very simple buttons that are all in the front. We use a lot of different recipes. Sometimes they'll have ounces, sometimes they have grams, and so you actually, or milliliters, you want to be able to switch between those very easily without having to turn it over and get out a screwdriver and find the little tiny switch that switches you over. So the OXO is our overall winner. It's very nice and easy to store. It's low and flat. This stainless steel top pops right off for cleaning. You don't want to get the scale wet. You don't want to mess up the electronics inside. You want to make sure that you can really scrub the top and then dry it and put it back on. And one of the things we love so much about this model is that you can pull the display out. So if you're weighing a great big old bowl of something and you can't see that display right in front of you, it pulls right out. With the Ozeri, it's a little less expensive, it's a little less well constructed, it's very accurate, it's a great little scale. And if you really are just getting started in using a scale for your baking or for your meal prep, it's a great choice. One thing to know about scales is a little tip. Don't store anything on top of your scale. If you're storing heavy stuff on top of here, say you've got a bag of flour or something, and you just store it on top in between using the scale, that is something that experts told us will make the scale inaccurate over time because it's always kind of a little bit on, it's a little pressed, and it will just lose its ability to read accurately. So don't store anything on top of it. But I just keep this on a shelf in my kitchen. I grab this thing several times a day. It is so handy. So with all the tips and tricks and gear that Hannah and I both showed you, we hope that your meal prep will get much easier from here on out. For more information about all the gear we talked about today, check out the links below or see americastestkitchen.com.
How do you meal prep? Let us know in the comments. We love talking about this stuff. Make sure to like this video too and hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode.